Hi guys! So for yesterday's lesson, we looked at being able to calculate the maximum and minimum values when given a tolerance interval. And today for our lesson, we're going to look at taking an upper and a lower limit, so a maximum and a minimum, and expressing that with tolerance notation, so with the plus minus sign. So for example, if we have a maximum of 90 and a minimum of 70, that can be written as 80 plus or minus 10. And today's lesson is going to be on showing you how to do that. Because if we have 80 plus 10, we get 90, which is our maximum, and 80 minus 10 is 70, which is our minimum. The first example that we're going to look at involves numbers that are quite easy to deal with. So example 1 says, on a journey, a car's speed ranges from 50 miles per hour to 56 miles per hour. Express this in tolerance form. So when you're being asked to express something in tolerance form, the first thing you need to do is find the midpoint of the two numbers. And midpoint just means the number that lies halfway between the two numbers. So these numbers are quite straightforward because we know that if our minimum speed is 50 miles an hour and our maximum speed is 56 miles an hour, there's 6 miles per hour in between them. So the midpoint is going to be 53. So our midpoint is 53 miles per hour. Our second step, now that we know our midpoint is 53, and 53 is going to be the number that goes at the beginning of our expression in tolerance form, we have to work out the difference between the midpoint and each number. So because it's a midpoint, the difference between 50 and 53 and 53 and 56 is going to be the same because it's bang in the middle of those two numbers. So you can either do 53 take away 50 or 56 take away 53 and you'll get the same answer. But common sense, just looking at this question, will tell you that it's 3. So 53 plus or minus 3. We'll stick it in some brackets and it's miles per hour. Then we have a third step, and that's going to be with these questions to check your answer. And that will be really, really simple to do. So the first thing you're going to do is do 53 plus 3, which takes you to 56, which was our maximum, and 53 minus 3, which takes you to 50, which was our minimum. And that's how you can check for certain that you've got this question right. Sometimes, though, the numbers that you'll be presented with in a tolerance question, particularly at Nat 5 apps level, won't be easy enough for you to just look at it and spot straight away what the number is in the middle. So, if you want to find the midpoint of two numbers and you can't just do it by inspection, so you can't just do it by looking at the numbers and thinking about what numbers in between them, is you add the two numbers together and then you half your answer. And that will tell you exactly what's in the middle. And that's what we're going to do for the next example where the numbers are just a little bit more complicated. So for our second example, which is involving harder numbers, the question tells us that in a year in Glasgow, the rainfall measured each month ranges from 1.2 millimetres to 15.6 millimetres, and you're being asked to write this in tolerance form. So the first step is still to find the midpoint of the two numbers. And to find that, we're going to add them together using the steps from the previous slide, which is 16.8, and then divide the answer by 2 to get 8.4. And now we're going to work out the difference between the midpoint and each number. So we know that to start with, we're going to have 8.4 plus or minus and then another number. To find that number, you can either do 8.4 minus 1.2 or 15.6 minus 8.4. And it doesn't matter what one you do here, you can do both if you really want to check that your answer is definitely correct, but you're going to get 7.2 as your answer. So we go over to the side and in some brackets we'll do 8.4 plus or minus 7.2 and our units are millimetres. And remember our third step to check And we would check the 8.4 plus 7.2 does give us 15.6, which it does, and that 8.4 minus 7.2 does give us 1.2. So we know that we've got the right answer. Our third and final example looks at expressing a range of values in tolerance form, including percentages. So the example says John times how long it takes him to get to work each day for a week. The longest time was 44 minutes and the shortest was 36 minutes. So if we want to ultimately, for part B, express this in tolerance form with a percentage, we need to express it in tolerance form just with numbers first. So we're looking for the number that is in between 36 and 44. Because there's 8 numbers between them, that means that the midpoint is going to be 40, because that's either 4 taken away from 44 or 4 added on to 36. And our number after the plus minus sign will be 4. We can check that really quickly by saying 40 plus 4 is 44 and 40 minus 4 is 36. Now, the bit that's new for this question is that it says express it as a number of minutes plus or minus a percentage. So the number of minutes doesn't change. We're still expressing it as 40 minutes plus or minus, but we need to say what is 4 minutes as a percentage of 40 minutes. You might be able to do this just by looking at it, which is great, but if not, you could say 4 over 40 as a fraction is 1 over 10 if you divide the top by 4 and the bottom by 4. And we should know from our percentages topic that 1/10 is 10%. So that means that we can express that as 40 minutes plus or minus 10%.